All right, coming up on 6 o'clock this morning, you're waking up to continuous coverage on NBC2 and ABC7 as Hurricane Milton continues to travel across the Gulf. Giving you a live look right now at some of our major Florida roadways. People are heeding the warnings. They are heading out of town. This is I-75 northbound near Marion County, so just south of Ocala. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Thanks so much for waking up with us. I'm Lisa Spooner.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alan Campbell, and this morning we're joined with our team of meteorologists, Jesslyn Ferenc and NBC2 meteorologist Lauren Hope. A lot of moving parts here this morning for sure. We've also got Jason Dunning with us. What is the latest right now going on with Milton? Moving forward, Jason, because I know it continues to, I don't want to say lose strength, but it's not, the winds aren't as powerful as they previously were.
Yeah, the just extreme intensity that we saw yesterday with winds topping, I think it was 180 or so miles per hour. That has come down, and that's perfectly normal with storms that strong. They have trouble maintaining that intensity for long periods of time, and they go through these cycles where they get stronger, and then they lose intensity, and they get stronger again. It's still in a very favorable environment at this moment, but we do expect that to change as it gets closer to the Gulf Coast of Florida. If you're just waking up, here's the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. As of 5 a.m., it's moving to the east-northeast at 12, so picking up speed a little bit. And this winds at 155 miles per hour. So it's a strong Category 4. To be classified as a Category 5, winds have to be at 156 or higher. So, I mean, there's really not a difference between 155 and 156. It's kind of all semantics. This is an extremely powerful hurricane, and it will likely be a major hurricane by the time it reaches the Florida Gulf Coast. The main change we've seen with the forecast cone, not with the track. The track still takes it over, at least the center part of the track, closer to Tampa, Sarasota, and St. Petersburg. We are still in portions of the forecast cone, so there could be some shifts either to the south or to the north. So even though if you might see maybe online, you might see a center line that takes it up closer to Tampa. I've been hearing this the last couple of days, and I've been hearing folks saying, oh, it's going to Tampa, we have nothing to worry about. We would not see the greatest impacts, but would still see significant impacts because remember, these hurricanes are more than just one dot on a map. They're very large systems, and all indications are is that Milton will continue to grow larger in size with respect to those tropical storm winds and the hurricane winds, and that's why we're under that hurricane warning for Lee, Charlotte, and DeSoto County, and a hurricane watch for Collier County. The other change I want to point out to you is with respect to the timing. So it's going to take longer for the storm to make it into the Florida Gulf Coast and make landfall. So instead of early Wednesday, the trend has been later. So look at the timestamp right here, 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, winds at 125. So that's the Category 3 hurricane right along our coast. So it looks like the greatest impacts for us. In other words, the worst of the weather that we're going to see will come probably Wednesday evening, Wednesday overnight, into Thursday morning. And the biggest concern is storm surge, and we have storm surge warnings up and down the coast of the Gulf Coast of Florida and for pretty much all of southwest Florida's coastline, even up the Caloosahatchee. We're concerned with some significant storm surge flooding. And just to kind of, the storm surge warning alert is relatively new over the last several years, but the Hurricane Center says that's essentially the loudest bell that they can ring. That is the biggest concern since it's the water that claims more lives than the actual wind. So let's go county by county, talk about the impacts for Lee County. We're looking at peak surge at 6 to 10 feet. And along the river around 3 to 6 feet. We'll be updating these numbers in case we see any shifts in the track, but based on the current forecast, this is what to expect. Higher totals north, okay, so let's say up into Charlotte County, even north of Inglewood, we'll see some higher totals. The timing for the worst surge, likely Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, and even into Thursday morning. The wind threat, we could see peak winds at 75 to 110 miles per hour. That's enough to cause some power outages. Those winds can be destructive, toppling trees. And so that's something else that we're going to have to keep a close eye on. If it heads farther north, the storm, then those winds could come down. The timing of the winds Wednesday evening and into Thursday morning for portions of Lee County. And other impacts, I mentioned the power outages and also looking at between 3 to 6 inches of additional rainfall. Also concerned here with with Charlotte County in particular with storm surge 6 to 10 feet for the Charlotte coastline. Higher totals north, especially north of Inglewood. The timing for Charlotte County Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. We got a high tide cycle early Thursday morning for Charlotte Harbor. And then finally, we'll make a stop here into Collier County looking at your impacts. And the storm surge threat will be lower, but still 4 to 7 feet is a lot of water above normally dry ground. The timing for that Wednesday evening. And as we look at the wind threat, I've lowered this a little bit up to 75 miles per hour along the coast. Mostly Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night, so we could see some spotty power outages there, rainfall between 3 to 5 inches. We'll talk more about our impacts for our inland neighborhoods where we have a hurricane watch in place and look at some of the brand new futurecast models with this storm that's ahead in just a few minutes as our team coverage of Hurricane Milton continues.
All right, appreciate it, Jason. Well, moving patients all across Southwest Florida. Hospitals in Charlotte County are evacuating people to Collier County.
Our crews were there as Shore Point, Punta Gorda, and Shore Point, Port Charlotte evacuated. Mercedes Martinez is working to find out how many patients may have been transferred from Fawcett Hospital in Port Charlotte. Mercedes?
Good morning. Well, evacuations are underway here at HCA Florida Fawcett Hospital this morning. We are seeing staff members out and about. As we were pulling in over to the front, we saw a line of ambulances forming as they were getting ready to get patients inside those ambulances to transport them out. Now, Fawcett Hospital tells me they still do not have everyone out yet, but will have patients transferred out to other Florida hospitals. This happened just a little more than 2 years ago as well when Hurricane Ian was on its way. This is all to protect patients ahead of Hurricane Milton. We know Shore Point, Punta Gorda also evacuated to Physicians Regional in Naples. And in Naples this morning is Alexa Velez at Gulf Coast High School, which is turning into a shelter today. Alexa.
Good morning. For those of you just joining us, I've been telling you about different locations set to open as emergency shelters here in Collier County as Hurricane Milton gets closer. Some general population shelters will be opening at 4 this afternoon, including where we are, which is Gulf Coast High, Immokalee High, Golden Gate High, and Oak Ridge Middle. Now, pet-friendly shelters include Corkscrew Middle, Cypress Palm Middle, and Golden Gate Middle. If you're planning on bringing your pet, make sure to bring their supplies and keep them crated since they will be kept in a separate area. Now, for those with special needs, a designated shelter will open at Palmetto Ridge High School at 2 p.m. This is for pre-registered people who need electricity or nursing care. A family member or caregiver must be with them. Remember, services at all these shelters will be very limited. Think of it as a last resort. And of course, stay tuned with any updates here in Collier as Hurricane Milton gets closer to our area. But for now, live in Collier County, I'm Alexa Velez. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Alexa. So there are also a handful of shelters opening up in Lee and Charlotte counties as well. There will be 5 in Charlotte County. We're talking about the Harold Avenue Rec Center, Kingsway Elementary, Neil Armstrong Elementary, Liberty Elementary, and also the Babcock Ranch Field House. Lee County has shelters opening up. Island Coast High School, Estero Rec Center, and Dunbar High, along with more in Hendry and Glades counties. If you want to see a full list, by the way, also Lee County said they plan on announcing more openings coming up. NBC-2.com is where you can go for the latest information. We have some breaking news to tell you about. You are looking live from the scene of a deadly crash on I-75. So these are in the southbound lanes. This is just north of Bonita Beach Road, past the Corkscrew Road exit. Florida Highway Patrol tells us a 33-year-old man from Fort Myers crashed into the back of a semi-truck that was stopped on the shoulder of the interstate. The driver, the 33-year-old, died at the scene. Right now, the crash is still under investigation. I want you to take a look right now at our navigator maps, and you can see just how far back those the congestion is, and also how slow. We're talking about 3 miles an hour, and this is probably because people are getting up trying to head to Alligator Alley in order to get to the East Coast in order to evacuate. But again, lots of backups there as this deadly crash is impacting traffic. So we'll be sure to stay on top of this. Also let you know when it's all cleared.
Also, this is a very good time to do so. Download the new NBC2 News app. Our First Alert Hurricane Tracking Team is updating you with everything weather-wise, and we've got important business, school, and road closures posted there. This is free. It replaces our old weather app. Don't forget to turn on those push notifications so all the latest alerts are pinged right to your phone. You can download the app. Again, it is free from the App Store or on Google Play.
We have been getting tons of viewer questions over the past few days, and after the break, we're going to get you the answers you want on Hurricane Milton.
In Charlotte County, the Englewood Water District, EWD, is suspending water service to the barrier islands. That is set to start at noon today. EWD says the water shutdown will last throughout the entire duration of the storm, and then once it does come back, there will be a boil water advisory that is in effect.
All right, 6:13 on this Tuesday morning. We continue to keep you updated on Hurricane Milton, where it is going, its track as well, with ABC7 and NBC2 meteorologists. I know you guys have been working very hard this morning, trying to update things that are going on. Well, what's the latest right now?
The biggest concern by far, what worries me the most, what worries all of us the most, is the storm surge threat for Charlotte County and Lee County, and even north of Charlotte County, the storm surge is likely going to be a lot worse. So yeah, for those of you in Englewood, Manasota Key, there's a lot of concern with that. And the reason why we talk so much about storm surge is because that's the most life-threatening aspect of hurricanes. Meteorologist Lauren Hope is also fielding, taking some of your questions that you've been sending in, and she's going to be addressing some of those in a moment, because I'm sure you have tons of questions. And if you want to send any more questions, we're going to try to tackle as many as we can throughout the day. News tips at NBC-2.com, and we'll put that up on the screen for you.
Now, before, as someone who's not a scientist, who's not a meteorologist, and looking at all the data, I was sitting back there and talking with our boss, Ryan, and, previously when we talked about the landfall and the storm surge, it was coinciding with low tide. Now my question for you both is, now that it's been pushed forward, so we're talking about a later landfall, does that mean we're going to be dealing with high tides?
It's a possibility. We have high tide cycles coming in Thursday morning. So what would be better for us in Southwest Florida is if this either stayed on track or even sped up in forward speed a little bit more. But even when you have low tide, you still can have that significant life-threatening storm surge. So high tide would just enhance it.
How quickly does storm surge come on land?
Sometimes in a matter of minutes. I've seen video, and we'll get to the forecast here in just a moment, but I mean, a matter of 30 minutes to an hour, it's a process that starts, so the water just gets higher and higher and higher as the winds get stronger and push on shore. So we'll explain more about storm surge here in just a moment. But by far, we're not trying to scare anybody. We live here. This is our community. I just want to let you know that we're here with you, and we're going to be here until the threat is passed. And hopefully we can, come back afterward and say that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But right now, there's significant impacts, significant threats and hazards for our coastline, even if we don't see a direct landfall here in Southwest Florida. Can't stress that enough. There's the 5 o'clock advisory, winds at 155 miles per hour, so they have leveled off. They've dropped a little bit from yesterday's peak intensity when we saw that rapid intensification. Here's the most important part of the forecast cone. If you looked at it yesterday, you're looking at it today, what's changed? The strength, the track, not so much, but the timing. Notice the timestamp here, 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, winds at 125 miles per hour. So now this is likely going to be an overnight event. So Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then on Thursday morning, a lot of us will be hitting those high tide cycles. The peak storm surge forecast for us has, for the most part, remained unchanged, except the lower limit here for the storm surge has been increased since yesterday. Now 6 to 10 feet for Lee County, 4 to 7 feet of peak surge for Collier County. and then 10 to 15 feet once you get north of Charlotte County. That includes Inglewood and up into Sarasota and the Tampa Bay area. We're going to get into more detail about exactly where we expect to see the worst of the surge, but I think in our area, it's really Charlotte Harbor and coastal sections of Lee County. Naples, still some surge, but just not quite as high. As we look at the storm surge threat timing, now this is for Wednesday, low in the morning hours. The winds will still be blowing offshore, and then we'll start to see some water level rises, probably for Collier County first and Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel by the late morning. And then the threat level continues to increase as we get into the evening and overnight into early Thursday. And here's why. We talked about the timing. This is, I know there's a lot of colors on your screen, so just trying to help you out navigate this. So this is 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. This is where the core of the storm could be. Now, it's still possible there could be some shifts either farther south or north, but even with the eye of the storm coming in closer to Tampa Bay, watch the wind flow around the storm. So we have that onshore wind to deal with, which will be pushing water up against our coastline, and the water just doesn't have anywhere to go. And if we're heading into a high tide cycle, then we're expecting to see those pretty staggering water level rises. So very high storm surge threat continues overnight Thursday morning, and even as late as about 11 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, based on the exact speed and track of the storm, and then conditions start to improve by Thursday afternoon as it relates to the storm surge. So let's take a deeper dive here, and I want to go county by county. There's a lot of colors that you see here on your map, but this is where we could see water above normally dry ground. So right along the Peace River, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, we had to deal with some pretty major flooding from Helene, and these water levels could exceed what we saw with that. So for Punta Gorda, downtown area, you can see in the red, 6 to 9 feet of storm surge possible up through the Peace River, southern sections of Port Charlotte, the Cape Hayes Peninsula. You can see Inglewood perhaps with above 10 feet of storm surge, and the Cape Hayes Peninsula too, as I mentioned, some water level rises there from that storm surge threat Wednesday night into Thursday. Lee County, you'll notice the Caloosahatchee is colored and some orange right up against the river with 3 to 6 feet of storm surge possible, and then 1 to 3 feet possible even over portions of Cape Coral as you get closer to the central sections of the Cape and south of Veterans Parkway. 3 to 6 feet for the southern tip of the Cape, Fort Myers Beach, and around Estero Bay, South Fort Myers, 3 to 6 feet of storm surge possible. And this looks like a new update for southern sections of Collier County. We could see up to about 6 or so feet of storm surge, but I think on average around 4 to 7 feet for coastal sections of Collier County. So that's why we're spending so much time on the surge, just to show you that this is going to be a pretty significant threat here with that for Southwest Florida. And I'm going to send it over to meteorologist Lauren Hope is taking some of your questions, which we'll be doing for the next couple days.
That's right. We've got so many questions. I want to take this full so you can see. If you have a question, feel free to send it to newstips@nbc-2.com. So I want to start off with our first question we've gotten. Why is it forecast to be downgraded to a Category 3 before landfall? We can go ahead and take dot to full. The reason we expect this to fluctuate in intensity for at least the day today is going to be due to not necessarily environmental conditions, but an eye wall replacement cycle. So this is very common in major strong hurricanes. So you saw this weaken back down to a Category 4, likely to gain strength back to a Category 5. But yes, as we get closer to landfall, we do expect this to start to hopefully weaken back down, and that's because of the environment it will be tapping into. So higher wind shear is present in the northern Gulf. Where this is going to be pulled up, Milton will be tapping into a more hostile environment, and that would help to decrease the intensity. But something wind shear could also do is make the storm grow in size, and a bigger storm produces a larger storm surge. So that's something we're going to be watching very closely. What are the chances the Caloosahatchee will flood? Another great question. You saw Jason take you really town by town and show you all of the storm surge projections. I do think it's likely as we take you up the Caloosahatchee Waxahachie, we can see, especially the farther south, those 6 to 9 feet storm surge values. But if you're talking downtown Fort Myers, the 3 to 6 feet. We've seen flooding from multiple storms so far this hurricane season, and this will be no different. So yes, the potential is there if you live along the Waxahachie to see at least some of that storm surge threat. And how far inland will that go, extending all the way east of I-75, east of Tice, at least the 1 to 3 feet range there. Another question, will we have power outages? Yes, it is likely we will have power outages, and you still have today to prepare. We don't expect that earliest onset of at least those tropical storm force winds until tomorrow. So throughout the day today, do the things you need to do to prepare for the power to be out. So charging portable chargers, make sure you're getting water, protecting the food in your fridge, and keep in mind the farther west and north you live, the more likely you have those power outages. Hurricane warnings in effect for Lee, Charlotte, and DeSoto, and those hurricane watches in effect inland and farther to the south in Collier. So you need to be prepared for at least tropical storm force winds, if not hurricane force winds. Again, mainly Wednesday, particularly Wednesday night into Thursday morning as Hurricane Milton nears landfall. One more question, and of course, feel free to send more our way. Is it possible to get tornadoes? Yes, it is possible anytime we have a tropical system. The good news is a lot of times these tornadoes within tropical storms or hurricanes tend to be short-lived and they tend to be weaker. But that is the lowest in terms of the threats. It's going to be storm surge, flooding, and wind that is of much higher concern. We'll have more team coverage coming up.
Shop now and save up to $1,500 off on all pool heaters. Only at Recreational Warehouse by Watson's.
Lee County Elections encourages you to request your vote by mail ballot for the upcoming November election. Voting by mail is convenient, secure, and a simple process. Request your ballot, vote, and return it to our office. The deadline to request a vote by mail ballot is 5 p.m. October 24th. Visit lee.vote or call 239-533-8683 to request your ballot today.
Naples and Fort Myers, Germain Toyota of Naples makes it easy as 1, 2, 3 to service your vehicle. 1, you can now book any of your service needs from your cell phone or online. 2, we will honor any valid competitor's coupon. That means we have the lowest prices. 3, our synthetic oil changes are less than anybody, from just $68. So set that appointment today online or give us a call. At Germain Toyota, it's fast, simple, and easy.
KB Patio and Home Decor has the area's largest in-stock outdoor furniture available for immediate delivery. For the pre-season sale, everything in the store is an additional 15 to 50% off sale prices to make room for new inventory arriving daily. Over $5 million of the best selection of contemporary, transitional, and traditional outdoor patio furniture and unique indoor and outdoor home decor accessories. Visit one of 2 KB Patio and Home Decor Naples locations for all outdoor patio and indoor and accessory needs.
Welcome to the great 2024 AC debate. Here's Mike Lang from Air Around the Clock and Mr. No Show from the competition. Mike, if someone says their wife is hot, what do you suggest?
That's easy. If your wife is hot, just call Air Around the Clock at 888-FIX-MY-AC. We're the #1 Rheem dealer in the nation, and we keep wives cool every day.
Thanks, Mike. I'd ask Mr. No Show, but looks like he didn't show.
The choice is easy. Call Air Around the Clock at 888-FIX-MY-AC.
The NBC2 View Network, sponsored by Cape Coral Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
.25, our barrier islands are very, very vulnerable to storm surge and flooding. People on Matlacha are in the process of recovering from Hurricane Helene. And I mean, some portions of the island are still closed from Hurricane Ian more than 2 years ago. This morning, Zuri Hoffman is live and local from the Matlacha Pass Bridge. Zuri, how are people there now getting ready? Plus, deputies keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, well, as you guys mentioned, this area was really devastated by Ian. I mean, take a look here at just some of the businesses and buildings. One would think that this is in preparation for Hurricane Milton, but in fact, a lot of these spaces and a lot of these buildings have been like this since Ian 2 years ago. We just passed the 2-year anniversary. Once again, they were devastated by Hurricane Helene about 2 weeks ago, and here we go again, getting ready for Hurricane Milton. We do know that deputies are right here at the base of the bridge here, just keeping an eye on things, monitoring things out here. We can see a lot of cars exiting the island right now. We spoke with a gentleman who was planning to evacuate. He said his home took on a lot of water during Ian, and he's getting ready for what Milton will bring. Take a listen.
The toilets were gone. It even ripped the toilets off their supports, and I don't know where they went. And well, it's not good, you know. I mean, it takes a toll on your mind.
Yeah, it really does take a mental toll on so many people. Again, Lee County is urging people in A and B evacuation zones, A and B, to evacuate. That includes here on Matlacha. We will, of course, keep on monitoring conditions out here, speak with deputies to make sure folks are getting off the island. Lee County says you need to be out of here by this evening. We're live here on Matlacha. I'm Zuri Hoffman. Back to you.
Well, Milton has started to make its anticipated turn to the north that will bring it to the Florida Gulf Coast tomorrow night. We'll take a closer look at the impacts. We'll go county by county with those impacts coming up after this quick break.
All right, 6:30, you're waking up to continuous team coverage between NBC2 and ABC7 as Hurricane Milton continues to travel across the Gulf. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Spooner.
Hi, I'm Alan Campbell, joined by our team of meteorologists. First, we've got Jason Dunning and Jim Dickey. So, Jason, I got a question that came in from a viewer. The viewer said they didn't flood during previous storms. They say, so we don't need to worry, we're not going to flood with this storm. But that's not right, because every storm is different.
Yeah, we say every storm is different, and you know, it's all about the angle that the storm takes. So it's natural to think back to the last storm and think, okay, I didn't get any storm surge, I didn't get any flooding from that one, so that means I'm going to be just fine for the next one. And that's absolutely not the case. Ian took a track that was more parallel to the coast. This is going to take a track that is somewhat more perpendicular to the coast. And so the angles of the winds, it's all about angles when forecasting storm surge and also the size of the storm.
And
so
this is a rare track.
This is a track that we haven't seen since the 1800s. And so there's not a whole lot of precedent. We can't think back to a storm that took a track like this toward Florida. So I just don't want you to get any kind of false hope that just because it did not flood from storm surge for Ian where you were doesn't mean that's going to be the case. And we were talking about Charlotte County in particular.
In particular, I mean, leading up to Ian, when projections were perhaps it would go to the north, more to the north of Charlotte County. Yeah, we were looking at high-end projections there for storm surge. It came south. So I know many of you in Charlotte County evacuated. You came home, you're like, hey, where's the storm surge? It didn't happen here. This is a very different storm, especially if it takes the track we're expecting it to take toward Tampa Bay. Surge totals will be highest, we think, with this one in Charlotte County. So, you know, some spots will likely see a little more than what they saw. Some spots could see less. But again, every storm is different. Difficult to say specifically. When those evacuation orders are out, they're out for storm surge. They're out for the potential for storm surge. You don't want to be there when the storm surge comes in. Period.
And it did, you know, lots of people have been sending in questions, barring asking, hey, my house at XYZ, will it flood? These guys are here to answer your questions. If you have anything you need to know from them, send them in. You can send them into newstips at NBC-2.com, and we'll do our best to have these guys answer it for you.
Absolutely, and a lot of our viewers right now, they're tracking this just as much as you guys are tracking this right now. I know you guys are working really hard, and some people are wondering, okay, so I'm seeing what the National Hurricane Center is putting out and what you guys are putting out, the meteorologists, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a really great question, because if we're going to get to the forecast in just a moment, I'm told. But let me just address this question that you asked. The Hurricane Center has a product on their website that shows a reasonable worst-case scenario, as we call it, and they use 10% chance, so they call it reasonable worst-case scenario. So that's not a forecast. What we're showing you with the 5 or rather 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. That is what is expected.
The forecast.
That is the forecast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so if what you see on the Hurricane Center's website, that's more intended for emergency managers to make assessments.
For planning for the worst.
Planning for the worst,
right?
Yeah,
and, you know, leading up to Ian, we were showing you the worst case scenarios for Charlotte County. They didn't play out there. To get those worst case scenarios, you need things to line up the exact way in your particular location. So for some spots, those maps won't work out. For others, they will. But that's why we're showing you the forecast as opposed to the worst case scenario. But let's take a look again at those 5 o'clock stats on Milton, a 155 mile per hour high-end Category 4 hurricane. Yeah, if you're just tuning in from last night, the storm has weakened. In fact, pretty significantly. It was all the way up to 180 mile per hour winds yesterday as it was moving toward the Yucatan. Now back to Category 4 intensity. But it's a process going on that we often see in these major hurricanes. It's called an eye wall replacement cycle. And to my eye, it appears to be nearly complete. As you can see, the core showing up again, fairly pronounced on the satellite presentation, trying to clear out that eye once again. I think that will occur here. This is from the Hurricane Center in their latest discussion, acknowledging the storm is restructuring itself through that eye wall replacement cycle. Basically, you get that small eye, a larger eye surrounds it, and eventually kills that smaller eye off until the new eye takes over. You get some weakening temporarily. These eye wall replacement cycles, they're common. They often cause the winds, the peak winds, to fluctuate while the wind field expands, and that's the key. While the high-end winds are coming down a little bit, the wind field is expanding. That expansion expected to continue, and that will be a factor we'll be watching closely as it approaches our coastline. So there is the center, again, trying to clear itself out. I suspect we will get some re-intensification. It's what the Hurricane Center calls for. There is 2 o'clock this afternoon, back to Category 5, and then the general weakening trend takes over. We've talked about this throughout the morning. There's going to be wind shear in play, some dry air in play. I'll actually talk about that for you coming up in just a couple of minutes, why the storm is expected to weaken as it approaches land. But still, we're talking a major hurricane landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast. Yes, the center line goes to Tampa, but remember what the cone shows you. Average forecast error, 2/3 of the time, the center will stay within the bounds of the cone, and history tells you the center could be anywhere from here, close to us or over us in southwest Florida by 2 a.m. Thursday, or even all the way up here towards Cedar Key. And even outside of the cone, as we've been stressing to you this morning, you're going to feel impacts in the form of the winds, in the form of flooding rain, and yes, in the form of storm surge flooding. Much more on those potential impacts for you coming up in just a couple of minutes.
All right, it is 6:36, taking a live look at our FDOT cameras. So this is I-75 near the Alico Road, Corkscrew Road, in between those exits, right? So you can see traffic moving in both directions as so many people try and get out ahead of Hurricane Milton and evacuate.
Well, the barrier islands in Charlotte County were battered by storm surge and flooding from Hurricane Helene just 2 weeks ago. Now Hurricane Milton is on the way.
Yeah, Joshua Cole just made the trek from Fort Myers up to northern Charlotte County. He's in Englewood at the racetrack gas station at Winchester Boulevard and South McCall Road. Joshua, first of all, a lady emailed in saying because of your previous report, she was able to get gas. So we appreciate you. But I do have a question. On your way up there, did you notice a lot of people out on the roads?
So as we were coming up here, it was between 3:30 and 4:30 this morning. So at that time, there were not a lot of people coming up US 41 for us. Just very kind of staggered. You'd see someone out every now and then. However, as we are getting into these more later hours of the morning, we are starting to see South McCall Road just very, very busy. And even behind me here at the racetrack, a lot of people here stopping by saying that they watched our report at 5 o'clock, came here to get gas, and then they're getting out of the storm's path themselves. So take a look here behind us, and you could see a little bit of a line starting to form. We really have not seen a lot of, I wouldn't call it craziness around here, but it has been a growing steadiness of seeing people come to try and get gas. A couple people told us they were having a little bit of issues with some of the pumps. I guess the more frequently they're being used, you might run into that. But people are still getting gas gas here this morning, and this is one of the only gas stations that is still open in this area from what other people are telling us. They said they looked for the last 2 days, really, trying to fill up on gas, not just for their cars if they are trying to get out of the way, but a couple people, again, when you evacuate, you don't have to go super far to get out of the storm's path. Some people just going as far as getting farther inland in the Northport area. So they're just trying to fill up for their generators for when and if we do see power loss later on with this storm. Now, one thing that we have noticed, again, this gas station here is still open for us this morning. Just down South McCall Road is the Walmart here in Inglewood. A lot of people know that as we were coming by this morning, we noticed the lights were turned on, a lot of cars in the parking lot. We've had a couple people come up to us and say they were in line to try to get into the Walmart, and then someone came out and said that they would not be opening this morning. We'll go by and try to confirm that to you. We did have a Publix worker come up here to us and say that the Publix here in Inglewood is going to be open, that the Publix is, I should say, will be open today until at least 3 o'clock. So if you still need to make some last-minute preparations, Publix going to be open, and as well as this gas station here, as long as they can. We're live this morning in Inglewood. I'm Joshua Cole. Back to you.
Yeah, you can really see all those cars behind Joshua there. People still needing gas this morning, and many of you have questions. Where are gas stations open right now, and do they have gas? Sarah Mankiewicz is in South Lee County.
This Wawa here on Alico Road has plenty of gas, and people are taking advantage of that. We've been seeing people out here since 4 this morning, getting their gas cans filled up, filling up their cars, their trucks, getting everything ready as Milton is making its way towards Florida right now. We have seen that some other gas stations here on Alico Road, like the Shell gas station, have been out of gas right now, so people aren't able to go there. So this is one of the only places that we've actually been able to see here, but they do have gas right now, and so people are getting here early and they're filling up, getting everything ready that they need. I'm along Alico Road. Sarah Mankiewicz, back to you.
All right, Sarah, thank you. Also, if you're driving by and you see a gas station that is open, let us know so we can let our community members know as well. Switching now to the Barrier Islands in Lee County, our crews are seeing a lot of businesses batten down the hatches ahead of Hurricane Milton, getting prepared.
Yep, Britt Leone reports this morning live from Sanibel, where those mandatory evacuations are in place. Good morning to you, Britt.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, we are at the Heart of the Island shops right off Periwinkle Way and Dixie Beach Boulevard. I'm here with the property owner of the shops, Ben Dahlman. Good morning, Ben.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, so I can see right now we're outside of Home by Rachel Pierce Furnishing. They've placed sandbags. We've got a stack of buckets here as well. You know, how else have the businesses here at the shops prepared?
Well, they have done a lot of preparation, and a lot of it has come from our staff as well. But we're worried about the flood, of course, so we've been putting sandbags out. Our company also owns Periwinkle Place and the Dunes Golf Course and the Sanibel Inn, and our staff has done a tremendous job.
Yeah.
Shane Nation, one of our employees, actually went to Miami to get the sandbag. We have over 1,000. We put over 800 out amongst our properties, and we're just trying to protect things. Our tenants here are very resilient. They're amazing. And we're thankful to have them, and we're all going to get through this.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to bring you guys over here now as well to take a look inside the home furnishing store. So we're going to walk this way, but Ben, we're showing the viewers, you know, they've placed some of the furniture on top of buckets, which is obviously great, I'm guessing, to prevent damage from potential flooding. Do you guys have plans after Milton? You know, in terms of cleanup or anything like that?
Yes, we have plans, and our general manager at the Sanibel Inn is Mr. Checklist, Bill Wildman. He's got a list of things, and we have contractors. El Calciano is amazing. He has so many contacts, so as soon as we know what we're facing, we will mobilize and we'll get out here to hopefully not have to take care of much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll be ready if we do need to do more than that. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. We're going to stick along Sanibel Island all morning long to give you updates as far as weather concerns. Local on Sanibel Island, Britt Leone, right after this break. We'll be right back.
All right, 6:45. If you were waiting for a sign to get out, this could be it. A Waffle House in Cape Coral is closed. I want you to take a look. This is the location on Del Prado Boulevard South near the Cape Coral Bridge. Our crews were at that site last night as a very disappointed driver is pulled up, only to see the place shut down. Of course, you know that whole Waffle House index, that if it's closed, that's when you need to get out yourself. Now, the one that is further north on Del Prado by Veterans Parkway, that one is open. But again, this one near the Cape Coral Bridge, it makes sense that this one will be closed, so close to Caloosahatchee.
Okay, so right now we want to take you out live to Cape Coral with Rachel Whalen. Rachel, you found a Waffle House that is open. Have you seen any other businesses that are open?
Yes, we actually just went to a 7-Eleven by Palm Tree Boulevard and Cape Coral Parkway. It's the same spot I was at during Helene when we were getting all that flooding. They are open. They don't have gas, but they just got a new shipment of ice and water. And also not too far from that 7-Eleven and the Waffle House, this is all generally the same area in Southeast Cape Coral, is this. This is a construction site for the Cove at 47th Apartments here in downtown Cape Coral. And we got a couple questions about this site because some people were concerned about loose materials. And I'm here now and can tell you there are a lot of loose materials at this site. We're seeing slabs of wood on the ground over here. We're also seeing a lot of bricks. Some of them are compacted together, but if you look like on top of this one, there's a couple of loose bricks right here. We're also seeing buckets that don't appear to be strapped down or anything like that. Cables. Also a lot of work trucks here as well. They have been lowered. The forklifts and cranes have been lowered, it looks like, but they're still here. And then we're also seeing all this metal that, again, is not contained at all, not held down. There is this chain link fence, of course, right here, but we've reached out to the city of Cape Coral to see if they are aware of this construction site, if they have plans to contact the companies and contractors here to, you know, clean this up a little bit. If there was a message sent out to all construction companies and contractors to clean up their sites. I remember during Helene, I asked the mayor this question because, you know, there is so much construction going on in Cape Coral, and he told me that a message does go out to them. He's a contractor himself, so he understands how important this issue is. Again, I've asked the city about this situation, and we are waiting to hear back. But for now, I'm going to keep looking around, and I'll send it back to you guys. I'm reporting in Southeast Cape Coral. Rachel Whalen, back to you.
Yeah, and that construction site is also right by the Caloosahatchee. So let's forget about the fact that they could be projectiles from the wind. You've got potentially rising floodwaters and construction materials floating around
into the water. Yeah, not great. Good. So hopefully that gets solved here. We're still tracking Milton, of course, a major Category 4 hurricane. It has weakened slightly overnight. There is expected to be a little bit of a pickup in those winds going forward. Go ahead and take a look at the latest numbers here. The threats multifaceted with this storm as it works its way towards us here. But, you know, this storm already in the history books. Yesterday fell to a minimum pressure of 897 millibars. Already the 5th lowest pressure ever recorded in the Atlantic. We have records going all the way back to the 1800s. So a historic storm in that right. It's the strongest storm in the Atlantic Basin, period, since Dorian back in 2019. But if we look specifically at the Gulf of Mexico, it's the strongest storm in the Gulf by winds since Rita back in 2005. So it's been quite a while since we've seen a storm as fierce as Milton in the Gulf of Mexico, that's for sure, in the Atlantic, period. Now, it's crazy to think that 155 miles per hour is a weaker storm, but it speaks just how strong that was yesterday as those winds cranked up to 180 miles per hour. It does appear to be trying to clear out its eye once again. What we call the eye wall replacement cycle appears to be more or less complete, and we'll see if that means another period of re-intensification. The wind field expanding, that's what you see in these replacement cycles. You go from that very small eye to something slightly larger and an expanding wind field, and that will be important as we go forward in time. As this approaches Florida, a wider wind field means more of us experience the tropical storm force and the hurricane force winds. Right now, the tropical storm wind field is only about 200 miles wide. The hurricane wind core is only about 60 miles wide, meaning you have to get within 30 miles of the center to see those hurricane winds. And while I do think it's going to expand, the wind field that is, it is going to matter exactly where that center goes, because that is going to be key in who sees the hurricane force winds. There's 6 o'clock on Wednesday. There's your hurricane wind field nearing the coastline. And in this latest run of this model, it does show Charlotte County, coastal Charlotte County, getting into the hurricane force wind. So even as the landfall, even as the center goes towards Tampa, we would be in the eye wall. We would see the potential for those hurricane winds in Charlotte County. What are we talking about? The percent chance, this is from the Hurricane Center, of hurricane force winds, 75-mile-per-hour winds or greater. Highest chance, coastal Charlotte County, the Cape Hayes Peninsula, up through the Northport area. Those chances even higher out over the Gulf of Mexico. Similar, we're going to see significant storm surge in Charlotte County and Lee County. And we're talking the threat for flooding from rainfall as well. In fact, rain is starting to ramp back up here this morning in parts of Southwest Florida. For more on that, I'll send it over to meteorologist Jesslyn Ferencz. Good morning, Jesslyn.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I'm tracking the radar this morning. This is not due to Milton. This is just some tropical moisture we've been watching over the last couple of days. That's what's bringing us all the rainfall. Some areas and some backyards seeing upwards of 8+ inches of rain over the last week, places like Inglewood, but we've even seen some flood warnings throughout the last couple of days. And this morning it's sitting right back over Collier County, just like what we saw yesterday. So let's take graphics full. Let's get a deeper dive into what we're seeing here across our backyard. So here's what we're seeing across Collier County, but some light sprinkles right now, pretty much from Gateway down San Carlos Park down into Bonita Springs. And then the heaviest of that rainfall we're seeing right across the alley. And I know some of us starting to make those evacuations. If we're heading off towards the east, we're seeing all of this heavy rainfall. So just keep that in mind as you are going to be leaving your homes today, if you haven't already, that it's going to be a sloppy mess out there. We're going to be seeing the heavy rain. You're going to be seeing the ponding in the roadways. So just pack your patience. There's a lot of people out on the roads trying to get to safety, and just make sure we're not a statistic out there. Let's drive safe and be mindful of other people trying to do the same thing. Rock Island, Jeremy, even down into Carnstown and Weaver Station, we're seeing that heavy rainfall as well. Certainly don't need this rainfall across Collier County. Take a look at that. We were seeing the ponding out there earlier, I should say yesterday, upwards of 4 inches in some backyards. So yeah, it's just going to be more and more rainfall as we head throughout the day today, and also as we head into tomorrow, with Milton going to be pushing just to the north of us right now as the models are showing, but still those impacts are going to be significant across Southwest Florida, especially including that storm surge risk. But we'll break that down closer with more weather and news coming up after the break.
All right, coming up on 6:57 on this Tuesday morning. Now we want to take you out live to Fort Myers Beach.
So remember, everyone was supposed to evacuate the island yesterday afternoon. Hope Salmon is local from there this morning. So Hope, does it seem like everyone's off the island?
Good morning, Lisa. It does seem like for the most part there are not very many people on the island at all. As we were driving down here as well, we noticed a lot of businesses on the way to Fort Myers Beach were boarded up, a lot of bags out there as well. And then when we get onto the bridge, there were not very many cars, but the Lee County Sheriff's deputies are at the foot of the bridge now. And then once you get towards the Times Square area here, and we're at Old San Carlos Boulevard, you'll see that most of these businesses here are very empty. Many of them are boarded up. And then actually, for the first time, I'm seeing these flood barriers. I believe they were here for Helene as well. I haven't seen them in person until now. So it seems like they're about waist high or a little bit shorter than that. But if these flood waters are really rushing in, I'm not sure how protective they'll be. I'm really interested to see how well they work. And you can see inside here at the Harbor House that there's already damage. Some walls have been removed, probably from Helene. So as people were trying to recover, it seems like they're just trying to make sure that they're boarded up and getting ready. And as you mentioned, people were supposed to be off of the island yesterday at 3 p.m. and today, starting at noon, there will be no water. So people do want to make sure that they're getting off the island. We'll keep you updated. We're going to head over to break right now. We'll be back after that.
Straight up 7 o'clock this morning, waking up once again to continuous coverage on NBC2 and ABC7. Hurricane Milton continues to travel across the Gulf. And looking live at major Florida roadways. No. But we can tell you that people are heading out of town. They are evacuating ahead of the storm. There's a look This is I-75. This is up towards the Ocala area, and you can see they're actually moving in both directions on I-75. You can see, look like linemen that were heading in this direction as well. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Spooner.
Good morning. I'm Alan Campbell, and this morning we are joined by our team of meteorologists, both our NBC2 First Alert meteorologists and our ABC7 Most Accurate meteorologists.
And we also have our team of reporters spread out all across Southwest Florida, from Charlotte to Collier County. But before we take you out there for all of their live reports, we're going to send it to NBC2 First Alert meteorologist Jason Dunning with the very latest. We've got that 5 a.m. advisory in. Now you've had some time, Jason, to kind of take a look at all of that information and break it down for us.
I think the main takeaway from this advisory, and this part really has not changed, we are going to see considerable impacts here in Southwest Florida. Storm surge being the #1 impact, or at least the #1 worry for us as this storm heads toward the Florida Gulf Coast. You'll notice the winds have come down a little bit from yesterday, which is very common for tropical systems. When they reach a certain intensity, they just have trouble maintaining that. And so usually what you see is what's called an eye wall replacement cycle. So if you look here, it looks like another eye is trying to become more exposed. So what happens is the initial eye kind of collapses. You have a larger second eye that eventually takes over as the more dominant eye, and then that allows for more strengthening. So it would not surprise me if this regains Category 5 status. Right now it's just right on the cusp. It needs to be up to 156 to be considered a Category 5 storm. So no big difference there. But one thing that we're going to be interested to see as the hurricane hunters are actually on the way right now. They're inside the storm. This is the flight path they took off from Lakeland, and this is a lower level surveillance of Hurricane Milton. And you can see this is actually some of the real-time data coming in. They're sampling winds at 44 there, but they're not actually in the core of the storm. Let's see if I can get this to advance, and you can see some of those winds popping up. I know that was really quick, up closer to about 140 to 150 miles per hour. This is very critical information, not just so we know what the storm is doing right now, but what the storm can do in the future, because all of this data gets ingested into the forecast models, and that helps to get a better simulation, a more accurate prediction of where the storm is going to track and how strong it could be. So I just wanted to share that with you, that the hurricane hunters are in there. Sometimes they'll update the strength of the storm if they find something that's brand new. The next advisory is out at 8 o'clock. This is the latest forecast cone and advisory from the National Hurricane Center. You can see a lot of colors on the map. Those are the tropical alerts. We have hurricane warnings in the red, hurricane watches in the orange. And so that means hurricane conditions expected in the red and possible in the orange. But let's talk about the timeline, because that's one of the big takeaways, especially compared to 24 hours ago. It looks like the storm is going to be arriving a little bit later toward our coastline, so that means the greatest impacts for us would likely not be until Wednesday night into Thursday morning. There's that Wednesday afternoon position as a Category 4 hurricane. We expect to see some potential weakening, but we're talking about going from a 4 to a 3. That's still a major hurricane with life-threatening impacts here along the Florida Gulf Coast. And since we're going to be on the southern side of the storm, even if we don't see a direct landfall, and that's still possible, that still could shift a little bit farther south, but even if we don't see that, we're going to see some pretty substantial impacts, storm surge being the big one. We have storm surge warnings issued by the National Hurricane Center. And what this means is storm surge is expected in these zones. Now, for those of us in Lee County, I know you probably noticed that the whole county is lit up. That doesn't mean that the entire county is going to get storm surge. The reason why it's all lit up like that is because along the Caloosahatchee, along the Imperial River, basically any connection to the Gulf of Mexico, the water is going to get pushed up some of those rivers, bays, and waterways. So here's how much storm surge that we're expecting right now. So this is the storm surge forecast. That peak surge for Lee County and Charlotte County along the outer coast, 6 to 10 feet. I don't think the storm surge will be quite that high along the Caloosahatchee River, probably closer to 3 to 6 feet. And then for areas south, Naples, Marco Island, around 4 to 7 feet. But I think the area of greatest concern for storm surge would be Charlotte County, just because it looks like they're going to be closer to the core of the storm. And you can see from Inglewood northward, storm surge around 10 to 15 feet. And we will talk about inundation from water. We talk about storm surge, just to make sure this is clear, because we've gotten a lot of questions about this. That is water above normally dry ground, and we're going to have more of an explanation on that coming up in just a bit, hopefully to clear up any confusion. But the timeline here with the storm surge for Southwest Florida, The worst of it would be Wednesday, late into the evening, overnight into Thursday morning. So that's been pushed back a little bit. We're going to go over the rest of the impacts with that timeline coming up as our team coverage of Hurricane Milton continues.
All right, we appreciate it, Jason. Well, moving patients all across Southwest Florida. Hospitals in Charlotte County are evacuating people to Collier.
And Lisa, our crews were there as Shore Point, Punta Gorda, and Shore Point, Port Charlotte evacuated. Mercedes Martinez now working to find out just how many patients have been transferred from Fawcett Hospital in Port Charlotte. Mercedes, are you getting any numbers?
Yeah, Alan, I actually just got off the phone with Fawcett Hospital not too long ago, and they tell me they are going to be transporting 250 patients. So far, only 50 patients are left to be transferred. Now, the ones that are priority are the ICU patients. Those are the ones that they want to make sure they get out of here first and transported. This morning, we have been seeing staff members work here since we arrived around 4 a.m. We have been seeing a line form of ambulance trucks as we've been seeing them load patients inside those trucks to transfer them out to other local hospitals here. And like you both mentioned, Shore Point, Punta Gorda also did their evacuations and transferred to Collier County in Naples. And in Naples this morning is Alexa Velis. She's at Gulf Coast High School, where that is turning into a shelter today. Alexa.
Good morning. Yeah, so right now, their mandatory evacuations for zones A and B in Collier County have begun at 6 a.m. within the last hour. Now, Zone A includes any coastal communities west of US 41. Zone B includes the North Naples, Pelican Bay, Naples Park area, which is where we are now. And you can see these signs posted all throughout the county asking people to evacuate. Residents in these areas are urged to make plans now, whether that means staying with friends or families or at a hotel outside of that storm surge area. And as a last resort, you can always go to a shelter that all the shelters will be opening at 4 p.m. today in Collier County. And you can see the list of those shelters on our website, NBC-2.com. But for now, we are live in Naples Park. I'm Alexa Velis. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Alexa. So as Alexa mentioned, there are a handful of shelters in Collier also opening up in Lee and Charlotte counties today as well. So Lee County has shelters opening. We know Island Coast High School, Estero Rec Center, and Dunbar High School, and they're talking about opening up some more today, so we're waiting to hear that announcement. Charlotte County also plans to open shelters as well at various locations today. They're waiting to see what the forecast does. There are others in DeSoto, Hendry, and Glades counties. If you want a full list, just head to our website. It's NBC-2.com.
All right, it is 7:08 on this Tuesday morning, and a lot of you are probably wondering what is open and what is closed. All right, so our team here, we are right now putting together a complete list for you. To find that list, it is super easy. All you have to do is just go to our website, NBC-2.com. Once you get here to our home screen, take a look. You'll just scroll all the way down, and then you'll come to this spot right here in the middle of the page.
I think it was up a little bit, Alan. I think you accidentally went past it.
Whoops. Okay, let me just go back here. Sorry, this
live TV, right?
Super touchy. Let me go up a little bit more here. It's actually in the middle part of the screen, and I'll say
there it is. The live updates right in the middle.
Live updates, Hurricane Milton barrels towards, okay? Then we're going to scroll all the way down. Okay, you'll see updated videos here from our team of meteorologists. You'll see the latest track on Milton, what is going on. Also, know your evacuation zone. We've got closures and all this video as well here. Live interviews with businesses on our barrier islands, what they are doing. You'll keep going all the way down, and you'll eventually get to a part that says right down here at the very bottom, there we go. What is open, what is closed. Here you'll be able to find a complete list, including restaurants, grocery stores, and gas stations as well. Again, that's on our website. Just go to NBC-2.com.
All right, breaking news. We're going to give you a live look from a scene of a deadly accident. This is on I-75 in the southbound lanes in between Bonita Beach Road and Corkscrew Road. It's north of Bonita Beach Road exit. Florida Highway Patrol tells us a 33-year-old man from Fort Myers crashed into the back of a semi-truck that was stopped on the shoulder of the interstate. That driver died at the scene. Right now, the crash is still under investigation. But here's what I want you to see right now. It is really, really impacting traffic. Look how slow it is. And more importantly, look how far back those delays are because of this accident. Of course, more people trying to evacuate, probably trying to get down south to get to Alligator Alley to head to the East Coast to get out ahead of Milton. But if this was part of your drive this morning, if this is what you were counting on, just know you're going to run into a lot of congestion there. All right, it keeps changing on us in real time, but count on us to stay on top of this. We'll be sure to let you know when it is cleared. People are getting gas, but barely even have time to think about other worries like that storm surge.
It's kind of crazy. I've lived here all my life, and I've never seen storm surges like we've seen in the last few storms. And I think that's kind of strange because we never really had storm surges before. No, I think that overall, we're probably as prepared as we can be. I think it's great that they're evacuating the beach. It's unfortunate for these people, and just hope that everybody is safe and we don't lose any lives.
All right, there's much more to come right after the break, so stay with us. Well, as we mentioned, we have reporters spread out all across Southwest Florida. Mohammed Abdul-Qawi is in Fort Myers with an update on the Lee Boulevard Publix and its current supplies ahead of Hurricane Milton.
Multiple trucks arrive here at this Publix along Lee Boulevard and State Road 82, the cusp of Fort Myers and Lehigh Acres. You can look behind me, you can see the number of items and supplies here available for people to purchase. We have seen people going in and out, unloading the last shipment of products ahead of Hurricane Milton. All Publixes in Southwest Florida will be closed today at 5 p.m. If you need any supplies at this Publix, there will be some for you. For now, reporting here in Lehigh Acres, I'm Mohammed Abdul-Qawi.
Also, if for some reason you need some of those supplies, the Harry Chapin Food Bank is going to be setting up 3 distribution centers today. We're working on getting that information together as well. But that's brand new. That just was sent in to us.
Yeah, and it's really great to see a lot of these places still getting those supplies because some people are still out there. They kind of procrastinate a little bit, and now they're a little bit in panic mode, and they want to get supplies, and there's still time to do that.
There is. You still have today. I hope people, already were working on things over the weekend and even yesterday, but you do still have times the impact starting tomorrow.
Because they're pushing back.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things, the changes we've seen over the last 12 to 24 hours. It looks like the worst of the weather for us will come in Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, and into Thursday morning. So most likely an overnight event. I know that makes it maybe a little scarier because you can't look out the window and see what's going on outside. And when we're talking about storm surge, hard to know to get some ground truth and know what's going on there. And then we've got a high tide Thursday morning. So with a lot of things we're going to be tracking here with you, we just want to let you know that we're all going through this together.
Put shutters up with you.
We were putting shutters up yesterday. We'll be spending the night at the station, and we're going to walk you through every twist and turn with the storm until the threat has passed. And just, make sure you have the NBC2 News app. If you're on the go, you can stream us there so you don't miss any really important information. Because this is all kind of coming in here hour by hour. Sometimes it seems like as we continue to adjust the strength of the storm. The next update from the National Hurricane Center is at 8 o'clock this morning. So here's the latest from Hurricane Milton as it spins just north of the Yucatan Peninsula. It has dropped in intensity. I'm careful to say that it's weakened because I don't like to call a storm that's 155 mile per hour weakened. That's still a high-end Category 4 and close to Category 5 strength. But we're probably going to see more fluctuations in intensity over the next couple days. It's in a very favorable environment right now, but as it continues that track toward the Florida Gulf Coast, we do expect it to be in a more hostile environment in terms of having something out there. The atmosphere basically would try to weaken this system. There's some wind shear, there's some dry air, so that's why you see this going from a 4 to a 3 as it makes its approach toward the Florida Gulf Coast, Southwest Florida in that forecast cone. We're on the south side of the storm in all likelihood, which is where the worst storm surge is going to be as the winds push on shore. So I started this a few moments ago. I just want to kind of finish the timeline. You can see here's today. Here's Wednesday. Here's Thursday morning. So when we're looking at just as the surge aspect of it, the worst of the surge for Lee, Charlotte County, up to 6 to 10 feet would most likely be late Wednesday night into early Thursday, 4 to 7 feet for Collier County. I think for Collier County, the surge threat starts a little bit earlier, probably closer to Wednesday evening and around midnight Wednesday into early Thursday. And the wind threat is going to kind of line up with the surge threat. We'll see the winds picking up a little bit by Wednesday morning, but hurricane force winds possible here right now. We're thinking that range between 74 to 110 miles per hour. It doesn't mean we're all going to see that, but that's based on the current track of the storm. If it comes farther south, we'll have to adjust these numbers up. If it goes farther north, we won't see those hurricane force winds. Isolated tornadoes also a concern starting tomorrow morning, since we're going to be on that eastern side, what we refer to as the dirty side of the hurricane. And then we'll see rounds of heavy rain starting today. We already have some areas with some rainfall across the area, especially down into Collier County. Nothing severe right now. And actually, as we look at the lightning counter, we don't even have any lightning. So this is just plain old rain, some of it heavy, though, around the Naples area. But we've seen so much rain as of late, especially around Collier County, that any additional rainfall will present the concerns for some flooding. We have a flood watch for all of Southwest Florida. This is not in association with Milton. We just have a lot of tropical moisture around. And then it looks like we'll get a break here as we head into the evening and tonight. And then walking you through the forecast for tomorrow, I want you to watch a couple of things. Number one, the feeder bands. And it looks like that first outer band could start to move in mid to late morning on Wednesday, and this will contain some very heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, even some wind gusts up above 40 to 50 miles per hour. And then the wind that I mentioned is blowing offshore at this point. So storm surge will not be a concern then. And I think we're okay until Wednesday morning. But then as we get into Wednesday, into the late afternoon and evening, this is around 6:30 as some of those rain bands are coming in. Notice the wind direction now. Winds pushing up towards Sanibel and some of the Lee County islands. And the worst of the storm surge will come when we get that basically direct onshore flow. Overnight Thursday, you can see potentially the core of the storm passing up to the north. We could see some shifts. We'll be tracking that very closely. But even into Thursday early in the morning at 7:30, the wind direction coming in right off the Gulf of Mexico. So that's why I don't think we'll be past that storm surge threat until probably Thursday afternoon, but at least the rain will be winding down and we'll start to see conditions improving. Here's what to prepare for in terms of the wind threat. And again, that's most likely going to be late Wednesday into early Thursday. And you can see it's all color-coded. The areas here in the purple, that's where we could see peak winds above 110 miles per hour. So that would include portions of Cape Coral, so western Lee County up into Charlotte County. That's where we're going to see the highest winds. But you can also see the rest of Lee County, at least a good portion of it, in the red. Hurricane force winds also possible there, around 74 to about 110 miles per hour. I think probably most likely on the lower end. And then for sections of Collier County, as we take you a little bit farther to the south, where we have a hurricane watch in place. We'll get to Collier County in a moment. Just want to show you Charlotte County first. And you can see a lot of purple here from Arcadia, Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, with those peak winds up above, potentially 100 miles per hour. So that's destructive. That can lead to widespread power outages. And across Collier County, you can see those wind levels coming down, but still some damaging winds possible in this zone, up to perhaps hurricane strength, especially over northern Collier County. We'll fine-tune this forecast based on the exact track of the storm. Right now, I want to send it over to meteorologist Lauren Hope, who is answering your questions. Lots of really good questions from our viewers, Lauren.
Yeah, we've gotten so many even within the past hour. So when will those tropical storm force winds begin? I want to take this full as we really start to dive in and get you the answers you need this morning as you prepare for impacts from Milton. Well, throughout the day today, it's still going to be relatively calm. Of course, you'll have to dodge the rain, but you're not worried about the wind by any means. Into even tomorrow morning, certainly getting a little bit breezier, but below tropical storm force. I would say into tomorrow night and then particularly into Thursday morning. That's when we'll see the worst of that wind threat. So tomorrow evening is when we'll really start to see those winds ramping up. Another question, I am not in a flood zone, but I remember Irma and how bad the wind damage was. I would evacuate just for that reason. Can you discuss the threat of wind damage in Lee County? Well, you saw Jason just go county by county County. But again, like we're talking about, the closer you live toward the coast, the greater that wind threat will be, and even particularly farther north, so into Charlotte and DeSoto counties. Back inland in Lee County, that's when you'll start to see the threat for tropical storm force winds into even Hendry and Glades counties. But again, that threat increases the farther west you go into parts of Cape Coral and certainly Sanibel, Captiva. The threat is real for hurricane force winds. You need to be prepared for the potential of power outages. What steering currents do you see that could affect the trajectory and intensity of the storm? Well, steering currents guide a storm and somewhat indirectly impact the intensity because it can guide a storm into a more hostile environment, weakening the storm. That's what we're going to see here. It's wedged in between an area of high pressure over the Lesser Antilles and an approaching trough. And so this is going to be pulling this up into an environment of higher wind shear, hopefully allowing it to weaken a bit leading up to landfall.
All right, it is 7:26. You know, our barrier islands, it seems like we're always reporting whenever there's storm surge and flooding because they are the most vulnerable. People on Mount Lachey and Pine Island, I mean, they're in the process of recovering from Hurricane Helene just 2 weeks ago. Some portions of the island still dealing with Hurricane Ian damage more than 2 years ago.
This morning, Zuri Hoffman is local from the mobile gas station on Pine Island, right along Pine Island Road. Zuri, how are people there getting ready? Also, deputies keeping an eye on things. How is that gas station also looking this morning?
Yeah, guys, well, the good news is, by and large, the people that we've been speaking with, they say they have plans to leave. They've been gassing up here. Thankfully, a lot of these pumps still have gas, which is good news. Again, we're at the Mobil and 7-Eleven gas station here. If you look at the doors, they're boarded up. People are still actually able to get in. They're set to close their doors, though, at 2 p.m. today. Take a listen to a gentleman we spoke with earlier about his plans. He's actually from Ohio, flew down to Florida to make sure his home was fine.
I mean, we've been watching the storms all season, and, you know, this one looked like a direct hit, so we decided to come down and put the shutters up, make sure the house was closed up.
Yeah, he's really, really hoping that his home will be okay. He's going to have to come back down here just to make sure things are all set for it and things are fine. Obviously, the goal is to mitigate as much damage as possible, which is what these folks are doing. Again, Lee County is urging everyone to be off the island by this evening. We're live here on Pine Island. I'm Zuri Hoffman. We'll be right back after this break.
7:30, you're waking up to NBC2 and ABC7's team coverage as Hurricane Milton continues to travel across the Gulf and has its sights set on Florida. I'm Lisa Spooner.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alan Campbell, joined by our team of meteorologists. We have Jim Dickey and Jason Dunning. What we're looking at behind us here right now, peak storm surge forecast. We've got kind of a show and tell as well. So what's going on here?
Sometimes it can be hard to visualize storm surge when we start talking about feet. So we just kind of want to give you a better idea of what we're picturing when we say peak surge of, 6 to 10 feet for parts of Lee and Charlotte County. And just kind of
this is a forecast, not worst case scenario like what we were talking about.
Yeah, so this is a forecast. And what this means is not necessarily that we're going to see 6 to 10 feet everywhere in this area, but pockets in here, there will be spots where we get 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. So this blue pole, I'll put it over here so you can see it, that represents 3 feet of storm surge. So you can see even here for Collier County, we're expecting to see more surge than this. That comes up to about my waist.
Wow.
It's a shallow end in a swimming pool, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So I've got the yellow 6-inch.
Okay, so let's see how this...
6 feet, excuse me. Yeah.
All right, so this would be 6 feet of storm surge. And so you can kind of look over here. That's the lower limit of the storm surge for Lee and Charlotte counties. So and
this is moving water. This is not just like rising and still.
Right, as if you're in the ocean.
Yeah.
Right, and there's wave action on top as well.
You've got wind driving this water, and there's stuff in the water too. That's why we're if you're in an evacuation zone, that's why it's important to listen, because you don't want to be in that situation. So that's 6 feet of storm surge.
This is interesting. This is very interesting. This is
you might have to put that on there because you're a little taller than I am. Just don't drop
that. I got it. You want me
Is it stable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know if you can see the number there.
Goes out of the screen.
So it goes off of the screen. So you can see what 9 feet of storm surge would look like. And hopefully we don't see that top-end storm surge, but just to give you an idea of, what we could be dealing with here with this storm. Even, it's really important, even if it doesn't make landfall in Southwest Florida and goes to our north, we'll be on the south side where the winds are pushing water on shore.
It's almost, for storm surge purposes, worse for us that it's going to where it is. Is that correct?
For some. Okay. I'd say especially true in Charlotte County with where it's making landfall. There's not much precedent for some of the heights we're seeing coming in on the models. Okay. And some of the models are suggesting up to potentially 9 feet in Charlotte County. And this is why, right here, this is why evacuation orders are out. It's because of the threat for storm surge. It's the threat for 5 to 6 to 10 feet, parts of Lee County, potentially even more than that in parts of Charlotte County, of water above the ground in your particular location, in Zone A, in Zone B. Evacuation orders are for storm surge because you do not want to be in those locations when the water comes up to those heights.
You can hide from the wind, as we say, but you have to run from the water. Right? So there you go. So we just thought this would be a good way to visualize. Our intent is not to scare anyone, but we just want to help kind of paint the picture of what our community could be dealing with respect to the storm surge threat.
Wow. And I know it's confusing, and if we have time, I can try to dial in here on some of the more localized numbers. Go ahead and take Doppler 1 full, and I'll go to the wall from here. So let's take a look neighborhood by neighborhood. Again, it's not going to be everywhere that we see those 9-foot heights, and we've been getting so many questions from you at home. Hey, what does this mean for my neighborhood? I'm at this elevation. What does this mean for my neighborhood? I'm at this elevation. Well, these maps we show you have elevation taken into account. It's why you see, hey, in the northern end of the Cape Hayes Peninsula, we're talking a 1 to 3 foot water rise. But you get to much lower elevations in around, say, Placida. Now we're talking 6 to 9 feet plus. That tallest pole we just showed you. Those are some of the high-end storm surge values on the southern end of the Cape Hayes Peninsula. Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. Let's dive in here. Downtown Punta Gorda. We're talking 6+ feet of water across much of downtown. That 6-foot water rise goes up the Peace River, too, all the way across 75 towards Cleveland. We have up to 41 6 feet plus of water south of town. Into Port Charlotte. The further north you go, the lower end those water rises are, which those storm surge zones take elevation into account as well. Generally speaking, where you see orange and red on this map, those would be storm surge zones A and B. Those are where the evacuation orders are out. We get to coastal Charlotte County, the highest values we're seeing anywhere in Southwest Florida. And this is taking into account the current forecast for the storm making landfall to our north, because it places us in Charlotte County in the strongest onshore winds on the south side of Milton circulation, on the southern side of the eye. Inglewood, Manasota Key, 6 to 9 feet plus of storm surge. I mentioned Placida, 6 to 9 feet plus of storm surge. We get into Lee County. The number's a little bit lower here. You're not seeing the purple, the 9 feet plus showing up, but a number of spots, 3 to 6 feet. 3+ feet across Fort Myers Beach, 6+ feet on the backside of Estero Bay, parts of Iona McGregor, 6+ feet. That does include, as we jump northward to the Cape, the southeast side of the Cape, near the Yacht Club, 6+ feet of water rises. Downtown Fort Myers, once again, we are talking a water rise on the Caloosahatchee of 3 to 6 feet. And then we jump down to Collier County. Even in Collier County, miles and miles away from where the landfall will likely be taking place. With those broad onshore winds, we're still talking a 3 to 6 foot water rise. So again, we emphasize, even if the storm isn't making landfall, storm surge will be a massive impact here in Southwest Florida. If you're under evacuation order, it is because of that threat for storm surge. And we still have time before the weather takes a turn. That would be mainly during the day tomorrow to get out of the storm surge zone to get to a safe location. We'll have plenty more on the impacts from Milton, including the winds. We'll dive into the winds and why the storm is expected to weaken a bit. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Jim, thank you. Let's switch now to our barrier islands in Lee County. Our crews there are seeing a lot of businesses now batten down the hatches ahead of Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, Britt Leone is reporting this morning live from Sanibel, where those mandatory evacuations are in place. And there's checkpoints in place as well, right, Britt?
Hey guys, yeah, there are some mandatory evacuations in place. And as far as the checkpoints, I'm here with a great person to talk about it. Eric Jackson, the Public Information Officer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so Eric, can you tell us a little bit about the checkpoints that are in place?
Well, currently, as we were coming into the island today, you could see that LCSO was out there, and they just have their lights on. There's a marquee out there letting people know when the curfew will start, when the evacuation needs to be in place at 10 p.m. Tonight. But we also have hurricane reentry permits that are available for pickup for residents and business owners today from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That being said, we wanted you to be safe. We want you to get everything together. That's the most important thing, and evacuate the island. If you have a photo, a government ID with a Sanibel or Captiva address, or you've got a property bill or a utility bill with a photo ID, that also will get you back on the island once it's time.
Great. And how long do people have today to pick up those permits?
Until 8 a.m. until 12 p.m. here at the Sanibel Police Department.
Perfect. And then curious, what is the city doing in terms of maybe a cleanup plan in place for later on after the hurricane?
Well, depending on the severity of this, we do have contractors in place that can be ready to assist with any of the cleanup that we need.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Eric. So again, that mandatory evacuation order is in place by 10 p.m. tonight. There's also a 24-hour curfew taking place starting at 10 p.m. Local on Sanibel, we're going to have more updates for you along the morning as far as weather is concerned. You can see behind me it's raining. Local on Sanibel, Britt Leone, back to you.
All right, appreciate it, Britt. So I want to give you a live look right now at one of Florida's traffic cameras. This is what you're taking a look at is the lanes that are clear. That is 75 southbound. The other lanes, this is north of Tampa, kind of the Ocala area, I believe. And you can see just how congested it is on I-75 northbound. So if this is where you were going to be heading to get out ahead of Hurricane Milton, certainly allow for the time to do that. Now, there is still time to do that with the timing that our meteorologists have given us for the storm.
Yes, you can still make that evacuation plan right now. But the barrier islands in Charlotte County, we all know this. We've reported on it, battered by storm surge and flooding from Hurricane Helene just 2 weeks ago. Now people there are bracing for Hurricane Milton.
Yep, Joshua Cole made the trek from Fort Myers up to northern Charlotte County. Now he's driving around in our First Alert storm tracker. And how are the conditions looking? Joshua, are you seeing a lot of people out on the roads?
So one thing that we've actually noticed is a lot more people leaving the area, or at least getting farther away from the coast than they are going closer to the coast. So right now we just got off of South McCall Road, that main road that goes through the Inglewood area, and now we're on Old Inglewood Highway here for us this morning. And so I'm going to show us as we're driving. We're not seeing any kind of water or anything like that. It hasn't really been raining. You can still see some ponding there, pardon me, on the sidewalk where some people have been. And really, as we've been driving through this area, we've noticed a lot of houses not with a lot of storm shutters up or anything, at least obvious storm shutters out this morning in this particular neighborhood where we're driving this morning. This house up here on our left, this blue house. Okay, these houses, you could see the plywood there up against the doors and the windows here. But otherwise, here we have another neighbor out for a walk this morning. So it feels kind of like a little mixed bag of what we're seeing through this area. We did get a tip a little bit ago about, some of these neighborhoods and streets just off this way are still seeing a whole lot of debris on the side of the roads. And so that's what we're looking for right now this morning. But at the moment, things are feeling a little bit easier. You can tell people have either made those preparations, gotten out of this area altogether, or are in the process of getting out. And we've seen a couple signs here just as we've been passing of preparing people for where we could see flooded roads. Again, for more houses with boarded up windows and doors at the moment, and some other people out. We're going to continue monitoring the roadways and the conditions here in Charlotte County. For now, we're going to send it to break. I'm Joshua Cole. We'll be back in just a moment on the other side.
All right, it is 7:44. A lot of us have heard of kind of the Waffle House barometer if you're waiting to sign to get out. Look at this. One of the Waffle Houses in Cape Coral is closed. So this is the location on Del Prado Boulevard South near the Cape Coral Bridge, which, of course, near the Caloosahatchee, so it certainly makes sense. Our crews were there last night as a very disappointed drivers pulled up and saw the place was shuttered with a closed sign. But the Waffle House up the road on Del Prado by Veterans Parkway is open.
Real quickly here, just want to let you know we are waiting for Governor Ron DeSantis to have a press conference here any minute now. He's going to be talking about the state's response to Hurricane Milton. Once the governor starts talking, we'll take you live to that press conference. Now, we want to take you live first to Cape Coral with Rachel Whalen. She is live along Cape Coral Parkway. Rachel, you found a Waffle House that is open, but not a lot of other businesses that still have their doors open.
That's right. That Waffle House was also in Cape Coral on Del Prado, but in the other location by Veterans. So yes, now we are in downtown Cape Coral where it's really a mix. So if you look across the street here, the McDonald's is open. Oh, and it looks like Governor Ron DeSantis is getting ready to speak, so we will toss to that right now.
Southwest Florida, but wherever it makes landfall, there's going to be impacts far beyond what the cone actually shows. Now, we have made, as I mentioned yesterday, pre-landfall declaration requests from FEMA. Federal government has approved a portion of our request. There are going to be landfall requests for major disaster declaration and individual assistance, and we anticipate those being approved as well. We have 51 counties currently under a state of emergency. As of the 5 a.m. advisory, Hurricane Milton is still a major hurricane. It is no longer a Category 5, but it potentially could strengthen back to that as it makes its approach to the state of Florida. Maximum sustained winds are in excess of 150 miles an hour. Now, their forecasts do call for it to weaken before it gets to landfall, and maybe that's true. Let's hope it's true. Maybe it's not, but even if it does weaken, you're still looking at a major hurricane. It is going to have really, really significant impacts. Right now, it's located about 560 miles southwest of Tampa. Storm surge warning has been issued for the Florida Gulf Coast from mainland Monroe County northward to the Dixie-Levy County line, with storm surge watches in effect for Nassau County to Brevard Indian River County line, including the St. Johns River. 10 to 15 feet peak storm surge is forecast for the Pasco Pinellas County line, all the way down into the area where you have Manatee and Sarasota. 5 to 10 peak storm surges forecast from Yankeetown southward, and then from Englewood southward to Bonita Beach, including Charlotte Harbor. So that almost entire west coast of the Florida Peninsula has the potential to have really, really significant storm surge. And when you're talking about 10 to 15 feet, that's obviously major, but we saw what even 4 feet did with Hurricane Helene in some of these communities. And so this is something that's really, really significant. There's hurricane warning in effect for Levy, Marion, Citrus, Sumter, Lake, Seminole, Hernando, Orange, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, Osceola, Manatee, Hardy, Highlands, Sarasota, DeSoto, Charlotte, and Lee counties. And then tropical storm warning in coastal Franklin, coastal Wakulla, coastal Jefferson, Taylor, Sewanee, Lafayette, Dixie, Gilchrist, Western Columbia, Western Alachua, Okeechobee, Glades, Hendry, Collier, Monroe, including the Florida Keys and the Dry Tortugas. We have a hurricane watch for Nassau, Duval, Clay, St. John's, Putnam, Flagler, Volusia, Brevard, Indian River, Okeechobee, Glades, Hendry, Collier, Dry Tortugas, and then a tropical storm watch Inland, Jefferson, Madison, Hamilton, Eastern Columbia, Baker, Union, Bradford, Eastern Alachua, St. Lucie, Martin, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade. So basically, the entire peninsula portion of Florida is under some type of either a watch or a warning. The Florida Division of Emergency Management is actively addressing storm-related resource requests. We are currently fulfilling close to 1,000 missions to support our local communities. That includes everything from tiger dams and generators to staff support as well as food and water and tarps. We've also deployed more than 11,000 feet of flood protection systems, and we're prioritizing critical infrastructure like hospitals, wastewater treatment facilities, and electrical infrastructure. We've also done things like generators to support special needs sheltering operations. Of course, Starlink Internet. All counties have access to Starlink Internet devices and can use those as they see fit. More than 350 ambulances and more than 30 paratransits are in operation. We also have another 144 in staging that can be used if the need arises. The state of Florida is amassing fuel reserves ahead of Milton and staging it to be utilized as needed. We have been dispatching fuel over the past 24 hours as gas stations have run out. So we currently have 268,000 gallons of diesel, 110,000 gallons of gasoline. Those numbers are less than what they were 24 hours ago because we've put a lot in. But we have an additional 1.2 million gallons of both diesel and gasoline that is currently en route to the state of Florida. Now, there is no fuel shortage. Fuel continues to arrive in the state of Florida by port and what we're doing to bring it in on the ground. But lines at gas stations have been long. Gas stations are running out quicker than they otherwise would. And so that is causing the state of Florida to help assist with the mission to be able to get fuel to the gas stations so that Floridians have access. So last night, 27 fuel trucks were escorted by the Florida Highway Patrol to deliver fuel to stations in the anticipated impact area. We're also working with fuel companies such as Racetrack, Wawa, Shell, and Walmart to ensure fuel trucks are working 24/7 to keep fuel delivered as it comes into our ports. Now, Port of Tampa, for example, our Gulf Coast ports are not going to be receiving ships at this point per the Coast Guard. They do have a lot of fuel that's on hand, and the dockside operations will be continuing. We are assuming, doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we are assuming that there's going to be significant damage to the Port of Tampa, so we're operating as if there's going to be a significant interruption in their ability to receive fuel, and Kevin and his team are actively working to get around that so that we have the ability to continue bringing fuel into the state subsequent to the impacts from the storm. You know, as we've been noting, we have taken on this debris mission to supplement the local governments in areas like Pinellas and Manatee, which saw a lot of debris left over for Hurricane Helene. Local officials, private contractors, continue the debris removal mission. Our folks are going to continue to work 24/7. Our executive order requires the landfills to be open 24/7, and in fact, we've had to even pry a couple of them open to make sure that not just the state trucks and the private vendors, but also private citizens are able to drop off debris. We want to get as much of the debris picked up as is possible. And as I noted, when we saw that there was a storm forming, we understood that there was a lot of debris on the ground. Some of the contractors work at different paces. This was not something that they were necessarily doing very quickly. So we took all state assets that were available throughout the state, took them off their normal missions, and surged them into these affected areas. We've now deployed over 300.
And we were just listening there to Governor Ron DeSantis talk about how the state is preparing for Hurricane Milton. Governor saying there are 51 counties right now under a state of emergency.
And things like the Port of Tampa could see some disruption, so they're getting ready for that. There's much more to come as we continue to cover where Hurricane Milton tracks next.
As Milton approaches
Actually, go ahead and take Doppler 1 on NBC because we just got the 8 o'clock update in from the Hurricane Center, loading in there, not here, apparently. But if you go ahead and take that full, we can take a look at the latest stats from the Hurricane Center. The winds down ever so slightly, 145 miles per hour, so a Category 4 hurricane. There's the cone. It's not a new cone. This is just a position and stats update. East-northeast movement, 12 miles per hour. We will be back on the other side of this quick break and breaking down that 8 o'clock update from the Hurricane Center for you.